Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our panel discussion in Sacred U. My name is Gretchen Theakston. I will be your host this evening, and we're going to be talking about the perils of positive thinking. I'd like you to meet our panel. Yorona, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are.
Sure. My name is Yorona Boster, and I am in a little town called Jamesburg in New Jersey in the United States. I am a life coach, a certified life coach, and I'm a member of the International Coaching Federation. I come from a background of 15 years in the field of early childhood, specifically working with children with babies birth to 3 with developmental delays and disabilities. My primary area of focus is now in parent coaching, and I also work with people with loss and trauma and infertility.
Thank you very much and welcome. Bex?
Hi everyone, I'm known as Beck Smith, your cheerleader for change. So I'm a speaker, a trainer, a body psychotherapist, a doula, counsellor, and much, much more. I help people through change, and I'm on a mission to help people feel successful by making life more purposeful. So I've created a new model called the Art of Yin, and that combines change intelligence with emotional intelligence to help you really concentrate on the feelings of success when the measure of success is always changing. And as we know, that is the constant in life is change. So I'm in Sydney, Australia.
Welcome, and thank you both for being here. We have a couple of other panelists we're hoping will join us this evening. And our techie lady is Miss Sophia Soul, sitting there in the corner. She's trying to hang on to her sanity right now, so we're just going to go right ahead into what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the perils of positive thinking this evening. So what I'd like, Yorona, if you can tell me what you see as positive thinking and how it affects us.
I think that there's a good and a bad to it. And when the perils come in, it's when we try to cover the raw, difficult emotions with overly positive thought processes. So for me, when I see somebody trying to be really happy when what they're truly feeling is anguish and pain and suffering, and not allowing themselves to actually go through those emotions, they're not able to actually find the real positivity and the real happiness and the real treasures past all of the well of that depth of difficulty. So I work really hard with a lot of people who have dealt with significant loss and trauma in their lives, and with loss comes a lot of pain, but in order to find the jewels in that, you have to be willing to dig into the hard stuff. And I find that at times some people would rather cover it with a veneer of positivity. It'll all be all right. It'll all be okay. When the reality is that sometimes it's not okay. And it's all right if it's not okay in that moment.
Thank you. And it looks like Katerina has joined us. Hi, Katerina. Welcome.
Hi.
Can you let everybody know who you are and where you are right now?
Hi. Yes, I'm Katerina, and I'm in South Australia. I am the owner and founder of Be Your True Self, and I'm all about helping you, giving you a safe space to explore your invisible world, the energy around you, and how that can help you. Integrate much more awareness in your physical world and help you with solutions and expansion, and also connect you with your guidance that can help you connect to your higher selves, which has all the information you need.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Bex, question for you. When we talk about positive energy in people's lives, what is the most valuable lesson they can learn that can help them stay in that type of energy?
Good one. So I think, positive energy in your life is connected to your body. So energetics are a part of your personal electric system, I like to call it or refer to it. So the electricity in your body actually is accustomed to different your feelings. So your feelings turn into, or your thoughts turn into feelings, which turns into body sense. So I think that something in relation to positive thinking, if you can have a connection to positive thinking, then you'll notice the changes in your body as well. You'll notice the changes in the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way that you hold yourself. When you're in the opposite end of the spectrum, perhaps you'll notice in your body that you're coming insular, your posture is different, your attitude is absolutely different, the way that you speak to others is different. So I think the lessons in when you have had that positive thinking and that connection to yourself and how you feel in your body, you can really notice that change. That's not just about a thought change, thinking positively. It's actually a full body experience. And that, I think, is where you can really focus on going, okay, I need to do this because it's a body thing. It's not just a thought thing. It actually will turn into something that will affect my whole body, not just my thought patterns.
Thank you. Katerina, there's a lot of talk these days about being in a positive space or working in a positive environment, but what is the downfall of not noticing what else is going around when you keep yourself in a positive space?
Well, what happens is I feel that you will start to deny what's really going on within yourself. Like if you're having a bad day and you're just going to cover it up with a positive affirmation, you're not actually dealing with the problem, are you? So I think you need to pay attention to how you're deciphering your day. You know, like if you're having a bad day, you need to acknowledge it, embrace it, and love it. And I think that's a positive thing, because that will then help you to untangle and unravel whatever it is that's causing you to stay in that spot. It's the acknowledgement, because then, referring to what Bex is saying, then it becomes physical, doesn't it? Then you start to get depressed, or you start to get hunched over. So I feel to be positive about it, you acknowledge what's going on at that given moment. I mean, there's no bad or good or right or wrong, right? That's what the energies tell me. So the positive thing to do is to acknowledge I'm having a bad attitude day, and let's have a look at what that is all about. The positive thing will be is that you're acknowledging it. And so you're creating a good karmic response which will come back and help you see that what you've done was like an aha moment. Oh, wow, I feel better today because I did this yesterday.
Thank you. Linda, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Could you introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do and where you are?
Certainly. Thank you for having me. And my name is Lynn, also known as Gypsy Min. I'm a hypnotherapist, tarot reader, transpersonal life coach who looks at all aspects of your life through tarot and hypnotherapy. I love this subject, actually. Thank you for having me today.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And the first question up for you. When we talk about the perils of positive thinking, what is the first thing that comes to mind for you?
First thing that comes to mind for me is the something based on my own personal experience. Growing up as a child and being in a situation where I was always forced to put on a happy face and, have a smile for the world. I felt as though my experience was, and I have seen this with my own clients, is that my other aspects of my personality didn't get to develop fully because they were neglected. They weren't necessarily not thought of, because I think when we push something to the side or we push something away, our emotions, for example, we think of them more, and then they become like this dirty little secret that we can't tell everybody. So we kind of, it adds another layer to making it a toxic situation or a peril, I suppose, of avoidance. So when you ask that question, the first thing I think of is the damage that it can do to your development, as a child, to your sense of self, to, how you're going to show up as you in the world as an adult.
Thank you. Yorona, we're often in environments with a lot of other people, and of course, there's lots of different energies running around. How do you manage to stay in a place of positivity, or perhaps identify when you are slipping from that in an area where you really need it?
I tend to call on what I like to call my emotional stopgap mechanism. So it's kind of like a thought process that I have where, am I handling this situation okay, or do I need a moment? It's that mental pause that we take both with our emotions and our thought processes. But I think one of the most important things is also to be real and true to the emotion that's there and to voice it. One of the hardest things that I'm going through right now is the loss of my brother. He's dying from stage 4 glioblastoma. And we had about an hour and a half long video call because we don't live in the same state. And after we got off, I was talking to my son and I was playing some fun songs from our childhood, and it was very enjoyable. And then a song came on that was something that was also really meaningful to me and my brother. And it put me in it kind of shocked me into a really sad moment. And instead of trying to pull away from that emotion because my son was with me, I let it out. And I started to cry, and I sat down and he said, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And I said, "I'm really sad," and I was telling him in the simplest of terms how I could explain to him, because he knew he had lost his cat before he turned 4. So he kind of had an understanding because we had already talked about that. And, and we hugged and we kissed, and I told him some happy stories about him, about this man in my life, that he doesn't know very well because we live far away from each other, but he was my brother. And it pulled us out. And then he helped me by helping me transition into something more lighthearted and enjoyable. But we allowed for that moment to happen. And I think that the reality is you have to be willing to sit with both the good and the bad of that moment to then be able to move forward with it.
Thank you for sharing that. That was lovely. Just so I'll let you know, we've got a few people watching us this evening, so thank you for being here. If you do have any questions, please just let us know, and we'll see if we can get them answered for you, or maybe we can talk about it. Who knows? Anyway, Bex, what kind of things do you do to help yourself when you feel like that is slipping, that positive energy is slipping away from you? Is there something in particular that you look to?
First thing I look to is nature. And I think nature is our biggest nurturer. And so for me, if, I'm having, I can't shift something, or I can't sit with something, or if it's something that I need to sit with that's big, that I know that is going to take more than just my energetic focus, then I will go and sit in nature and just let nature help me fill my cup with positivity, because I can't sit in nature personally and not smile, because all the beauty around me, all of the amazingness that the animals, are, and the way that she's just in flow. Nature is just in flow with herself. And again, I look to nature in the way that she has the storms, and then she has the beautiful bright sunshine, and it can't always be the same. So for me, that's a gift in itself, to be able to see the seasons are for reasons. And that actually is really helpful, just to remind myself that I am part of that ecosystem, and I have my own biome. So I need to just relax into the fact that I go through my own seasons, and they are for reasons. And if I connect in with nature, then I can really get that okay, I am supported. So I feel that support.
That's very lovely. Thank you. Linda, we know that women work on a 28-day cycle and men work on a 24-day cycle. How does that affect the nature of our relationship with positivity or the flow that we're going through?
We're very affected by cycles. You know, the cyclic nature of our existence absolutely does change the flow. As Bex was saying, we're definitely in a flow and in flux. So, you know, we have to not only be mindful of what part of the cycle that we are in, but also, you know, the other humans around us, the other energies around us, and be, you know, practice non-judgment towards people who may be in another energy or part of their cycle or flow as well. So, you know, we just have to accept that that is part of our existence. But I find as a tarot reader that, you know, tarot is something that I lean on to understand the cycles of our existence and our flow. And I use tarot within my practice to as tools to explain that to people and show how, you know, things may be this way at the moment, but they are going to change. It's also important to encourage people to become curious observers of their own life. And, you know, meditating is helpful. I do past life regressions with my clients as well. And that's the big, you know, cycle picture. You know, if you believe that sort of thing, I love that, just to look at, you know, how things can change and how we're here to learn lessons. Also, another good way to help is to label your emotional experiences, you know, with something that you connect with yourself, so that when you're in or out of flow or sort of in that lower part of the flux, then you can recognize this label and say, okay, this is where I am, and I know soon that I'm going to be here.
Thank you. Katerina, what kind of lessons can people learn from identifying their emotions and working back into positive spaces?
Well, the lessons can be from feeling uplifted in knowing that you took the time to create solutions for yourself, because we like to find out what we can do and what we can't do, right? We're always seeking answers at some level. The other things are like, okay, so you're dealing with something and then you have that quiet moment. Like, I'm right into the quiet moment, and in that quiet moment you just hear your own self whisper, this is the solution, right? Maybe something comes up just at that moment. You might be, you know, maybe a friend turns up, right? And you're suddenly having a conversation. And during your quiet time or acknowledgement of what's going on, that conversation leads to that particular word or answer that makes you go, and then you suddenly, you know, realize, oh my God, that's just what I was just thinking about. And thank you for clarifying. You know, talking to another like-minded person, the expansion of clarity and understanding that comes from that can be so mind-boggling. And that's the positivity, you know, that's the positive of it. Or the other thing too is, you know, if you're on Facebook and you're scrolling through, somebody might just put a post and say, oh, the energy was shit today and this is why. And you go, oh my God, that's just what happened to me, right? So that would be your universe saying, this is some of the results that you're getting from being positive about how you're acknowledging yourself at the time. You know, be kind to yourself. You know, that's another positive thing, whether it's good, ugly, pink or blue. You got to be kind to yourself, knowing that whatever is coming up is positive, because you're creating good karma from that acknowledgement, right? Because everybody's right into that karma thing. Well, karma is about acknowledging whatever it is, whether it's positive or negative. It doesn't matter. The energy is energy, right? So the positive thing would be you suddenly walk down the street or go and have a coffee or something, and a total stranger will say, hey, I know you. You just feel you feel really good today. Thank you for smiling at me. And that could be just a confirmation of yourself saying, see, you're on the right track, right? You're on the right track. Everything's going to be okay. Because that actually happened to me when I was writing my chapter, right? I was not sure about how I was going with it. I went and had a cup of coffee, and a total stranger said to me, you're the lady that helps us with our messy situations. And I went, yeah, it is. So it's a positive thing, right? Because I listened to my intuition and I said, right, go and detach yourself from the environment you're in, go somewhere different, go and sit in nature, or go and have a cup of coffee, because something, your intuition is saying something there is going to help you see the positive response from what you were just doing.
Thank you. Yorona, we have a lot of people in our lives who say the things, you know, if you smile, it's not so bad, or, you know, tomorrow's going to have, you're bringing some sunshine and all these kind of things. How do those things take away from our own healing or actually interrupt the process that we're on?
Oh, yeah, that's a really great question. The thing is, when you minimize the experience somebody else is going through, you also minimize their ability to process it. So I've had that happen to me, unfortunately, too many times. Rather than, and it actually detracts from the empathy that you really need in that moment. You know, you can say to somebody, oh, it'll be okay. But that minimizes what they're experiencing in that moment, because you can't guarantee it's going to be okay. But if you say, I hope it'll be okay, you give them one extra step of empathy, because you can't make assurances for what they're going to be going through. It's so painful when you have somebody else making a choice for you. You get to choose how you want to feel about the experience you're having. And then you get the choice on how you want to review that experience as you look back on it and you start to reflect on it. But you can't do that reflection when somebody else is trying to tell you how to feel about it. It's very hard to do that. And I find that when I just say to somebody, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but it really seems like it sucks for you right now. So how can I be here for you? How would you like me to show up for you? That changes the perspective for that person. And now you're not trying to fix what they're going through, but rather you're just trying to be there for what they're going through.
Thank you. Bex, when we're talking to people, we tend to forget sometimes that they're humans with emotions, and the words that we use can be quite damaging. How can we spend more time listening so we can actually respond in a manner that is helpful?
I think it's really about not listening to respond, but rather just listening to hear. And if you can keep that in your mind, and when you're listening to another, listening to respond is, what can I take from this and make it about me, or make it about a scenario that I feel comfortable talking about, because this is potentially making me uncomfortable. So the listening to respond is always thinking ahead or not listening, so that you can insert your thinking or what's happening for you. Whereas listening to hear is just really being open, like Yorona was talking about, is, you know, having that openness to accept that somebody else is going through something, and you don't actually need to take responsibility for that and try to fix it. You just need to hold a space to be able to, for them to go through their own emotions, because once you can hold the container for people to have emotion, then it's energy in motion. So it's helping them keep their energy flow. And we've talked about flow, and I loved that Linda brought up flow before as well too, because that's what I do. I help people find their flow in change, because it's about keeping that emotion in flow. And so when you're actually dealing with someone, or not dealing with someone, that's not the right wording there. When you're holding space for somebody who is going through something, the best thing is to just have an open heart and to just be listening, and not trying to fix or give solutions. And I call that solutionizing. It's more just being open and maybe prompting with, and so how does that make you feel? You know, or, you know, is there something that you think that you need to do about that? Or the kind of language that is very open and very non-rescuing. or
Thank you.
judgmental as well, which Urona said, no judgment in
Yeah.
just being the opposite.
Thank you. Linda, there are a lot of different modalities that people talk about when they want to go through or get to the other side of emotions that are weighing them down or making them feel uncomfortable. What modalities do you use to help your clients? And are there any that you use personally that could help people?
Yes. So when I'm dealing with clients who are struggling with holding on to emotions, and I don't see any emotions as being negative or harmful, but perhaps repressing some emotions, often I find it's because it's an avoidance strategy. So the strategy that I use when working with my clients to begin with is initially to get people to understand that everything we do is a strategy. So avoiding feeling with things is a strategy. And so then when we understand that aspect of things, we can then say, well, what's the strategy I need to use to shine the light perhaps on my shadow self, shine the light on the parts of me that I have not been acknowledging or, recognizing as being problematic, pushing down, repressing. And these things over time have been causing me to feel depressed and feel unhappy and feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my life, however it manifests in your life. How I would work with the client is just to allow them to develop their own strategies to firstly address, what they have been avoiding, and then create their own strategies in managing these things if they're triggered again or something comes up again. It's really giving the client agency. But first, you have to go on that journey of understanding, the strategy that you have developed in the first place that has been problematic, around. And, the perils of positive thinking, that's a problematic strategy. That is a problematic strategy because, we went through a period of time where it was all about positive affirmations, stand in front of the mirror and say, I am beautiful, I am this, and all of that is wonderful, but none of that is going to do anything if you're not, diving deep and getting to the root of why you have these things going on within. And so then it's stacking on that. It's wonderful to stack. That's another method that I use with clients as well, stacking positive things about yourself and how you can reach the goals or how you can feel better about yourself. That's wonderful, but you've got to be stacking on a foundation that is healed, or you have to see the foundation in order to stack. So there are a couple of my favorites.
Thank you. Katerina, our history with our family often directs how we deal with positives in our life and allows us to put barriers in front of the negative things that tend to hold trauma for us. What are some of the ways that people can bring those two together to give them a more balanced approach to their emotions?
It's not black and white, is it? There's so many layers in that.
Yeah.
Yes, our history in our childhood with my clients, sometimes we go back to their childhood and find out what happened during that time. I intuitive go in and find, like, say, okay, your 5-year-old, you were told that you had enough, like you had all the toys around you. And so your mother comes up, picks up toys, you've got enough, that's enough. So then what happens is you're building up these layers of, oh my God, I don't have enough. And I need to spend the rest of my life trying to find out what more I can have. When we look at, that's an example. So when we look at that, what I do is I sit with them as the 5-year-old. Like, this is what I do. I sit with them with the 5-year-old and say, these are, what other treasures do you have? So I get them to talk about what other treasures they have around us. So they're not just looking at that particular problem, not having that tunnel vision as such. And then we talk about, well, let's look at why your mother said that. Maybe she was having a busy day and she just wanted to get everything in the box, like helping the person look at an alternative way of thinking about why they feel that they didn't have enough. the positive of that is actually sitting in that situation at that time and going through the emotions. So I let my client cry, for example, and feel the limitation that might be happening. But then at the same time, I say, okay, I'm your mum. What would you like to tell me? So I get them to act it out, because that's also a positive thing, acting it out. And then I give them the space and I say to them, you can say anything to me. It's going to be okay. So I allow them to express themselves authentically. Now, a 5-year-old, okay, you're going to maybe try and overthink it. But what I do is I allow you to find the way how you want to express it, not how I want you to do it. You know, it's all about giving that space to do it. So then the result would be, oh, look at that. She was just packing up the box. So she was just saying, you've had enough for the day. It didn't mean that you can't have what you want. You know, like unraveling and removing the layers of the restrictions and limitations that was there in the first place by being in that situation. Then what happens is the client will suddenly drop their shoulders and have a big cry. And then they have a, oh, well, I feel better now because I didn't hang on to it, right? So when they hang on to it, I call it, we sit in the mud. You know, the illusion is we're sitting in a mud and that we can't move and it's too thick. So what I do is then I say, it's an illusion that you're in the mud. What does the mud look like? And then so I get them to look at the energetic. So I use different words. So I take them away from the trauma of it. But then what I do is I help them transmute it into something that they feel comfortable enabling to unravel it. I had one client who decided at 5 years old they wanted to be Superman, so I got them to feel like Superman, and they created the tools to break down the cement or the mud, as we called it. And then he just suddenly realized that what actually happened was not because he didn't have enough, it was just because his mother was too busy, and it had nothing to do with him in the first place. So that's another way of you know, getting the crux of it, finding out why you're doing it. You know, I also go past life as in off-planet stuff, you know, like I'm very much galactic connected, and my life coaching skills take me back to a time where you were off planet, because I go back to the root or the sin or the root of the problem. And sometimes you might find that the positive thing to do is find somebody that can take you to the root of the problem through regression or hypnotherapy or whatever it is, right? So the positive thing that I do is I take you back to that time and explain the situation. Then I get you to feel it emotionally. And then we look at, I ask you what's around you. So we do a little bit of role playing. Because what we're doing is we're dealing with how it was created in the first place, because then that situation may come back to this life. And then at 5 years old, your mother says that's enough, which activates an old memory. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so multi-layered, right?
Right.
The positive thing is to, you know, as a coach, to give them that space so they can explore different ways of finding their process and how it works for them. You know, like, I'm holding space for you. So if you want to cry, scream, yell, be happy, be joyful, that's what you're allowed to do.
Thank you. Yorona, how important let me start that question over again. How important is it for us to have people around us who can call us on our crap and say, look, I know you're not happy. It's safe to talk to me.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most important things we can have. It has to be a safe space though. And one of the things that's hardest is to ask for what you need. So if you can kind of make a plan with somebody in advance, let's say it's your sister, your best friend, your brother, your mother, your, you know, whoever it may be, and say, okay, if I call you just, and I'm like, and you hear me unraveling, ask me what I need in this moment. Do you just need to vent, or do you actually, are you looking for some thought process to get you out of this spiral, or are you just looking for a safe space to land and crash for a little bit? I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people. I think another component to that is also the inability for most people to be able to admit their mistakes that they make, both for themselves and for others. So as a parent coach specifically, one of the ways that you as a parent can humanize yourself with your child is being able to admit mistakes and own them with your children. Make it verbalize those moments. I had a moment with my son like that, and I've had many moments with my son like that, because we all make mistakes, right? Human beings. And I had this moment where he was late. We were late getting to school because it was a delayed opening from snow. I was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment. Just my whole day got completely thrown off. And we get there and I take him out and we're walking along. And of course, he was 4 at the time. What does a 4-year-old want to do when they're walking through snow? So he really wanted to play in it. And I'm like, oh, this isn't the time. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And I, rushed him along, and he even did a little stumble and kind of on his knees in the snow. And I'm like, oh, you're okay. You're okay. Let's go. Let's go. Get him into school. And I thought about that all day long. And when I went to pick him up, I said, Connor, I have to tell you something. I am so sorry for this morning. I shouldn't have rushed you along. I apologize that, I should have said to you, I know you want to play in the snow right now, but now is not the time for that. Now is the time to get to school and we'll play in the snow later. But I didn't do that, and we rushed and you went on your knees, and I'm really sorry for that. And I apologized. And then this little voice, Mommy, I accept your apology. And it was beautiful, because it was this moment where we can humanize ourselves, where as parents especially, or any person in this place of authority, when you can't humanize yourself with the mistakes you make to the other people that are in your lives, you can't create a safe space for them to also feel comfortable and confident leaning on you. And especially with children and their parents, that's one of the most important things they need. But that goes for anybody in your life. If you're going to find a safe space with somebody that you care about and somebody who you believe cares about you, you need to be able to both admit when you make mistakes, to both apologize, and to both sincerely try to do better. If that's not the kind of relationship you have, then the likelihood of you being able to find appropriate support in your time of need is probably not going to happen.
Thank you. Now, Bex, we've been talking about a lot of how taking a negative emotion and turning it into a positive emotion. What happens if you're the most positive person in the room and everyone is trying to take that from you? How are we supposed to deal with that?
Good question. I see that if there's a positive person in the room, then they've owned their shit or dealt with their shit generally, if you know what I mean. Because I think that the way that we can look at that, and people can call it overrated optimism, or toxic positivity. The real problem is that perhaps they're bothered by negative thoughts. And I think that, that was something that Linda's been talking about as well too, with what she did, and everybody, but Linda brought up the negative thoughts, is that what is the reason that they're trying to escape them? Because they're actually so bothered by their own negative thoughts that they're actually trying to downplay or to shame, or there's lots of different ways that, we can look at the toxic positivity antidotes, they call them, to look at. So I think really it's to not be bothered by people who are trying to either be negative or something like that. But if people are actually then trying to feed off your energy, perhaps, maybe that's an opportunity to say, well, I've done the work in this way, and I'm really not bothered by my negative thoughts about myself because I've dealt with them, and they still exist, but I don't layer on top the positivity. I actually am really comfortable with having the duality in life, because life is about dualities. So being able to just sort of give some of your own essence to them in the way that you've dealt with your stuff, and maybe talk about how you are able to find the freedom in your thoughts, could be a way to not give them energy, but also to have a space for them to be able to see that energetic flow within you, rather than that fight of positivity and negativity and that duality of actually existence. So I hope that answered your question. It felt like it did, but
thank
it was...
No, that was really good. Thanks. Linda, when we like, the discussion here was the perils of positive thinking. And I'm wondering if you have a lot of happy thoughts going on in your brain, but on the outside, you're looking like you're struggling a lot. What does that say about your acceptance of where you are?
That's a very interesting idea as well, isn't it? That you're looking like you're struggling outside, but you're not really, that's not reflective of how you feel on the inside. I guess it's perspective. I mean, whose perspective is that? I think our journey is our own, and everybody's going to have a different lens, and what might seem like we're struggling on the outside to some people, to other people might look like we're kicking goals. At the end of the day, it's our yardstick, it's our journey, and how we show up, whether we're in our masculine, whether we're in our feminine, whether we're in a confident external persona, or whether we are just getting by on the day. We only know our internal struggle. We only know what we're dealing with, our shadow self, the work that we've done, and what we're choosing to share with other people. So, there's always going to be a juxtaposition, I think, between where we're at on our journey and what other people perceive it to be. I think even the closest people to you, your most richest relationships, never really know what your thoughts are. Never really know, because we all wear a mask. We have to wear a mask to survive, and sometimes we're vulnerable and sometimes we're not. But that's our journey. And so we acknowledge and love and appreciate people who care enough to be concerned about how we look and how we're appearing and how we're showing up. But by the same token, everybody's going through something. So I just think it's entirely perception and their lens, and it's really up to yourself, where you're at and how you're managing.
Thank you. Well, this has been a lovely experience talking to all of you and hearing your views on this rather interesting and convoluted, complex subject. What I'd like to do is get all of you to take a moment to tell us the best modalities that you have for helping people cope with this balancing act that we have to play every day, and also where people can reach you. So, Yorona, if you could start, please.
Sure. Well, you can. So I use a lot of components to mindful techniques, and I use appreciative inquiry, and I really use a lot of the creation of a non-judgmental, open space for listening. I think one of the hardest things is for people to admit when they're feeling vulnerable. So I also will ensure that people understand that I'm not a perfect vessel. I think one of the hardest things for a lot of people to get behind is this idea that, well, if you're saying you're the expert, then that must mean you do this right. So I make sure people understand that it's always a work in progress, and it's never going to stop being a work in progress. That tends to help them bring down the veil of needing to put on like a show. And then they become a lot more real in the work that they do with me. So, and a lot of the work I do stems from the early childhood field of early childhood development and the understanding of, I utilize the self-determination theory, the 5 areas of early childhood development, the 5 domains. I utilize a lot of things that are that scientific basis in psychology and things of that nature. And with the coaching appreciative inquiry and creating a safe space and ensuring that we have a contract and an agreement and that we are setting goals that are completely authentic to the person and not goals that they perceive other people want them to achieve. Those are the most important things that I try to achieve with my clients. And the ways you can find me on my website, footprintscoaching.org. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and I'm sometimes on Facebook and Instagram, but honestly, the best way to reach me is through my website, because you can send me a message right there and book a free discovery session with me at any time. I'm also doing workshops. I'm also going to be working on launching a podcast series in spring, parenting podcast series with another coach. He is an empty nester and I'm a mom of a 5-year-old. So we're coming at it from those 2 different perspectives of parenting. And I'm going to be releasing a book in the fall all about parenting. It's called Unspoken Signals, and the building essential parenting skills to foster empathetic children.
Thank you. Bex?
Okay.
Wow, Yorona, doing a lot. I love it. I use a lot of different techniques. Body psychotherapy is definitely something that I work with a lot in all that I do. And that is, of course, the psychotherapy element, which is the behavioral looking at behaviors, looking at where they may have come from in childhood and characterology, different things like that, but also the body element in that. And that is actually, energy healing, but also really getting to know your own body through mindfulness activities, but also physical activities as well too. So a lot of different techniques there that we bring out that really brings you back to yourself and this physical moment in time. And that's, I think, the thing that we focus on now is things happened, but what are you doing about it now? What are you doing about it now as an adult? Because this is where you are right now. So embracing that. And of course, finding your flow in that is the passionate piece. And I've actually got a free downloadable quiz that you can do, which helps you find your flow and how well you manage change. And then what aspect, inspired by nature, that perhaps you can have more of, bring more of into your life, or that you might actually need to soften as well. So that balance of what have you got too much of, if it's fire or water or earth or air, and then what perhaps you might need more of using those elements, which is fantastic. So I've got that on my website, becksmith.com.au. And we've also got one-on-one mentoring. I've got a beautiful community where I show up every week and do some work with the community. And then I've got a personal success formula as well. So people can actually do a block series with me and really just get down into those feelings and thoughts, and before they become into that body sense as well. And if you want a full immersion, I have a retreat that I'm holding in Vanuatu in May. So I'll be putting expressions of interest out on my website next week for that. So be sure to visit next week again, because that's going to be 5 days of beautiful immersion into nature on an island called Vanuatu, if you haven't seen it before, but it's in the South Pacific, and it'll be an intimate 8-person retreat, and we've got the whole retreat centre. So yes, come and find yourself.
Thank you. Katerina?
You can find me on beyourtrueselfkaterina.com. I'm also a crystal light bed healer, so we can also a Reiki master, so I can help you with your energetics, We can have one-to-one coaching about how we can connect you with your highest self to help you integrate all your great ideas and your solutions into this life and how that works. You can, if you'd like to chat with me and see how I can help you, I can do that as well. The idea is to really help you understand that whoever you are, wherever you are, you have all the ability and capabilities to be who you are in this world of chaos. And I give you a safe place to get so you can explore whatever that may be. And at the same time, you get to speak to your higher self, because I teach you how to do it consciously, like through automatic writing or journaling or just understanding your energy. I'm very energetic. I'm all about the energies. But what's important is that we spend the time together and we format what would help you to find your process to go through your emotional and mental layers to help you create some sort of understanding so you can solve your problems and be authentic about what you do in your life. And I'm on Facebook as well, and LinkedIn.
Okay. And Linda?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So I have the at the base of my training is, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, but I'm also an intuitive tarot reader, healer, facilitator. I hold space for people who I love to work with gifted people who want to use intuition in their workspace to help their business create, grow and evolve. And I like to support people who just want to either learn about tarot reading, how to use tarot in, in their, to help them with business, trust their ancestral wisdom, bring their spirit gifts to the world through their business. But I also do cognitive and transpersonal therapy with using hypnotherapy and intuitive techniques. I can be found at soulhypnotherapy.com.au and on Facebook, and obviously also through Sacred Community. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you, everyone, and everyone that was watching. If you have any questions or you have any kind of comments, we'd love to hear them, and we will get back to you if you do have questions. But I want to thank all these beautiful ladies for spending the time with us here in our panel on SacredU for a very interesting conversation, and I hope we help some people along the way. So thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you, Gretchen. If I can just really thank you for facilitating such a wonderful wonderful panel. And before we finish up, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, alrighty. Let's dive right in. No, I'm a transformational coach. I've been in the health and wellness industry for 30 years as a nurse. I have a certification in botanical pharmacology, chakra healing, and chakra alignment practitioner, and a crystal healer. And I help my clients to step into their vulnerability and bring back to themselves all the powers that they were given and teach them how to use it.
Wonderful. Thank you. And of course, you are the host of a very special tribe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I have a tribe in SacredU called Self-Love Puzzle Pieces, where we take apart the emotions surrounding the adjectives and verbs that people tell us we are, and remind ourselves and learn that we actually can contain and hold all those beautiful emotions and accept all of them to bring ourselves into wholeness.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really appreciated. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And before we go, just a couple of quick announcements. And while I get them up, Linda, I'm not sure, did we hear about your tribe?
No. So I run a Healing with Hypnosis and Tarot tribe. And really it's just doing, the melting pot of your intuitive gifts along with a little bit of hypnotherapy thrown in, but it's also learning about people who are curious and want to learn about reading tarot, or are just connecting to their higher self through different tools and modalities. I also have an in-person group that I run as well on Fridays too. So I have online and in-person tarot drive running.
Yep. Wonderful, which is great. Thoroughly recommend. For anyone who is in Newcastle, do reach out to Linda for her Fridays tarot parties. And for anyone who is in Sydney, do reach out to Bex, because Bex is our brand new host of the Sydney Local Social Tribe. And all of this you can find out for more on SacredU.love, which is the website for our sacred community. So do come and join us if you wish. Thoroughly recommend it. $1 Australian for 3 weeks. You get to try out Gretchen's Self-Love Puzzle Pieces Tribe, the Soul Tarot Tribe. We have about 20 other tribes online, from human design and astrology to positive thinking to entrepreneurs tribe, all sorts of stuff. So do come and try that out for $1 for 3 weeks. After that, it's just 15 Australian dollars. Come and join Gretchen and everyone, and Linda and Katerina, who's a beautiful member. Thank you, Katerina, for joining us today, and thank everyone. Urona, who's tuning in all the way from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Yeah.
New Jersey. I remembered that, which was pretty much, which was the coming up, we have tomorrow is cultivating the divine feminine and divine masculine to create financial freedom. That is our next panel discussion. We've got about 20 something panel discussions coming up until the end of March. So do click on the links and come and join us. And for everyone who's been watching us, thank you. And for Wilma, who has been helping with all the links, thank you. And everyone who is watching us, whether it's live or replay, we have had quite a few people tuning in. Click on those links, connect with these beautiful women who are offering their time, the past hour, to share the passions all about positive thinking and the perils of them. So thank you.